High yields on stable coins, yeah, that's where my bag at. All I really need is Wi-Fi, get money on DeFi, mega cash on M.I.M.S. You better run when the runners run, show you how to get your money up. Dollar inflated like bubble gum, markets are jumping like double dutch. Buying up gold till I get a ton, crypto, yeah, I got some. You better run when the runners run, you better run when the runners run.
Good evening, everyone. You are running with the runners. It's Tuesday, February 20th, 2024. Tonight, we're going to look at what the wealthy are buying the most of right now and why you need to be doing it as much as possible. As always, I got my good brother here, Ricardo Hamilton, a.k.a. M.I.M.S, making it make sense. What's going on, brother?
Man, what's good, brother? Fired up and excited as always for today's show. I'm doing good. How are you?
Man, I know we got some big news this week, and I'm excited to let the team know about it. So you guys better get in contact with us ASAP because we're about to launch something super, super big here.
Yeah. It's huge, man. A lot of exciting things going on, man. Get money with Wi-Fi. Okay, it's huge.
That's right.
Yeah.
Well, guys, let's get right into it. As we always do, we want to look at the market caps of the assets in the entire world. Number one asset, undisputed champion for decades now, is gold at a 13.6 trillion market cap, price of $2,035. It's gone up about 1.5% since last week. Apple and third, really the couple of the big moves. Google went up to number 5. NVIDIA, which we were just talking about, Ricardo, had, I think it's biggest dump of its market cap in a while. It's down to number 7. And then our favorite baby, silver, the Cinderella asset, 1.296 trillion at just $23.03 an ounce.
Yeah.
M.I.M.S, your take on the assets the wealthy have right now?
Yeah, it's always good to keep up with this information because with anything, it's about consistency and it's about acquiring the right assets consistently. And there's so many people, that are not into precious metals or let alone stocks. But a lot of people, if you ask them, would they like to be wealthy? Would they like a more secure financial future? There's certain things that you have to hold. And so we like to show this because the number one asset, that the wealthy hold, governments and central banks around the world is gold. It's that, over $13 trillion in market cap, physical gold and silver, but it's actually one of the easiest ways that people can start to accumulate assets, protect their wealth and grow it at the same time. And so, these are the assets that you want to have and hold. And of course, I think if you scroll down there a little bit more, you might see Bitcoin at number 10.
There we
right.
go.
And so we're talking about not only these assets, but we're talking about undervalued assets, quite frankly, for the shift that's taking place in the monetary system. And most people won't know it if nobody told them, if they don't really understand what's going on. And so that's why it's important that people really understand, look, you have to continue to hold assets, especially physical gold and silver, and getting into blockchain and crypto.
Well, speaking of that, perfect segue. Another great week for cryptocurrency. Bitcoin almost hitting 53,000 this week, up 5% from last week. We can go to the biggest gainers this week. WorldCoin had a big pump. Not a huge fan of that. The big narrative this last week, M.I.M.S, was AI. So Fetch AI is a big AI token, up 57%. The Graph is another AI, 41%. Filecoin, decentralized storage, 34%. HBAR, finally. Okay, we've talked about HBAR before. I've shown you guys how to get 25% interest on that. 31%. Stacks, we've talked about. That runs with Bitcoin. That's a Bitcoin layer 2. Render is another AI token, up 28%. So really a good week. Lots of and this is just the top 100 actually.
Yeah, and if
so
you
lots
notice
of movement.
And if you notice what Mike is showing you guys is literally CoinMarketCap. Some people say, well, I don't know what to buy or what cryptos to get into or where, they should move their money. But literally you can look at cryptos by sector, by category, by industry. And so, one of the things that, when you're starting getting serious about investing and putting your money to work for you and putting yourself in position to have your money work harder for you than you working for it, CoinMarketCap is one of those great tools that you can use and easily just see a category, and it can show you some of the top projects in that category. You can look at their price performance or be able to get an idea of what it is that they're doing and what value that they're bringing to the space. And it's important that you do that. I mean, the sooner, some people would just say, I don't know what to do. I don't know how to get into crypto. You just got to start. You really just got to start, and you're going to make mistakes along the way. But you have to learn from those mistakes. And I tell people all the time, if you haven't lost money in crypto, you ain't been in crypto long enough. At some point, everybody loses money in the crypto space, but the whole idea is for you to get better at not losing money and keeping the money that you make. And right now, what we're seeing, like Mike said, is there are certain narratives and certain things that will trend in the bull run that's coming up. And you want to make sure that you're ahead of the curve, because it's a lot of money, trillions upon trillions of dollars moving into this space. And you don't want to be like watching it on the sidelines. You want to be gaining from it.
Yeah, and I like to use banter bubbles as well. You can come here and go to the different narratives. So you could go to like GameFi, if you're into, gaming, video games, or you think that's going to be a big narrative. Crown had a big week. This is a virtual NFT horse racing. They have the Kentucky Derby. So I'm kind of waiting for that to go down. Might grab a little bit of that. But, this is what we specialize in, is breaking this down and making it easier for you guys. Now, we're not really going to focus on cryptocurrency much today. M.I.M.S sent me this, yesterday. So I want to show you guys this, okay? So we talked about what is the number one thing that wealthy people buy. What do banks and institutions and governments all around the world get? Gold, okay? So we got some great visuals for you guys tonight. The Midas touch, the top 11 countries by gold reserves. The U.S. boasts the world's largest gold reserves, with more than half of the country's gold stored at a depository known as Fort Knox in Kentucky. 8,133 tons. And then we come down here, you can see the other countries. Germany in second with 3,353. Growing gold reserves in China and other developing economies bolster long-term gold price support, but short-term price fluctuations hinge on the U.S. dollar's strength. And Turkey is kind of a newcomer, really starting to get a lot of gold because they have had horrible inflation, I know, for a few years now. M.I.M.S, anything you want to add to just kind of put this into perspective?
Yeah, no, I mean, it's people really have to understand how the world works, when it comes to money. And there's a reason that you see these countries are holding gold. It's obviously not some useless metal that they're just collecting for fun. This is real value. This is real money. And it's so important that, you start to understand that and do what they do. If you see US and Germany and major countries around the world holding and buying more gold than they ever have in any time period in history, that's a clue. That's a clue. And when you're looking at what's going on around the world, and especially here in the US with inflation and loss in value of currency, more and more gold is not just being accumulated by governments, but central banks around the world. So it's very important that people hold physical gold in their portfolio, precious metals, now more than ever, because we're actually in a time period in history that will be talked about for millennium. Okay. And what are you doing in that time? Are you holding on to paper, or are you getting some metal?
So gold remains an important store of value, serving as a hedge and retaining value during economic crisis. In 2023, about U.S. interest rates and continued geopolitical risks, the metal once again demonstrated its importance by hitting a new record in December. Most of the world's gold is stored in various locations, including central bank vaults, private depositories, and jewelry holdings. Countries maintain gold reserve for various reasons. Firstly, gold serves as a stable and dependable store of value, enhancing confidence in a nation's economic stability, especially during financial uncertainty. Yeah. Additionally, despite the waning relevance of the gold standard, some countries still deem gold reserves crucial for maintaining currency stability. Moreover, gold's tangibility enables countries to diversify their overall portfolio. Currently, almost 1/5 of all the gold ever mined is held by central banks. That's astonishing.
Yeah, that's huge.
Wow.
That's huge.
20% of all gold mined ever is owned by banks. Russia and China, arguably the United States' top geopolitical rivals, have been the largest gold buyers over the last 2 decades. The People's Bank of China was the biggest buyer of gold last year, purchasing 225 tons.
Mm.
7 of the top countries by gold reserves are also among the top 10 biggest economies. So, I mean, guys, do you really think you know more about building wealth than the country of China, the fastest growing country in the world? And what are they doing with the wealth that they're getting? They're buying gold.
And go.
Same thing
Yep.
with Russia when they're, dealing with all these sanctions. They're like, we're cool. We're just going to keep buying gold. So you can see here, Mims,
Yeah.
the countries that have the most gold have the biggest economies because they have the most real wealth.
Yeah, and it comes down to stability. If in your financial portfolio and your strategy, if you don't have gold, your portfolio is unhinged. It's not stable. You have to have some real money, and this is why we talk about savings. People save, but you don't save in cash, right? Because cash is for spending. It doesn't hold value. You need an emergency fund, but you don't save in cash. You save your money in physical gold and silver, and that is not only going to protect your wealth, but build your wealth and help you hedge against financial crisis and inflation.
So this is from the same website. It just gives you some really good visuals, right? Obviously, I mean, you guys can buy gold for as little as $1. Okay, so don't feel like, well, I need to have $2,000 to buy gold. No,
Right.
we have ways where you can literally buy gold $1 at a time.
Yep.
But this just gives a really good visual. This is a 400-ounce gold bar at $2,000 per ounce of gold is worth the $800,000 of cash beside it. The gold bar is extremely heavy, weighing more than 3 full milk jugs. So the other one I wanted to show you guys, because I was like, what is what does a ton of gold mean, right? Because we can say here, we can look at this and say, okay, 8,000 tons, but what is that? What does that look like?
Right.
So this is 10 tons of gold compared to 100 tons of the yellow metal. So the smaller one next to the lady on the couch, that's 10 tons of gold. 100 tons is the one with the gentleman standing next to it.
Mm.
That is a big house right there.
That's a lot.
That's a nice shed.
Right. That is a lot of gold.
And that's just 100 tons.
Yeah, that's just 100.
And we got 8,000, over 8,000.
Over 8,000, yeah.
Here, this is semi-trucks carrying the maximum load it can legally carry, which is about 25 tons. So that's 25 tons of gold worth 1.6 billion if you had that on a semi-truck.
Mm.
This one's pretty cool. Here's the entire gold reserves of the United States government, which is 8,133 tons.
Mm.
So, I mean, that's what, at least two, looks like it's about two semis long and more than one semi wide.
Right.
And then it looks like it goes up about 4 or 5 feet in the air.
Wow.
This is buildings to show kind of what we had shown you guys before. So this tall building here is the United States. There's Germany, France, Italy, Russia, China. You can see how big those are compared to a house, a semi, a person.
Yeah, see, what people got to understand is what makes gold so important is that gold is what gave the paper currency value. The dollar, and the world accepting the dollar around the world. If there was no gold at the time to back the United States dollar would not have the value and the status it has around the world today. And so when you understand that, and then you see where the world is going now, you can understand gold's crucial role in its return as a safety and real money, like it should be.
And this kind of just blew my mind because it really made me understand, like, yeah, that's a lot of gold, but there really isn't that much gold in the world. And this is all a visual of all the gold in the world, and it could fit inside of an Olympic swimming pool. Now, obviously, it's, the height is out of the swimming pool, but still, that block you see there with that house next to it in an Olympic-sized swimming pool, that is all the gold in the world that has ever been mined. That's it.
Yeah, and see, gold is it has multiple uses, obviously, and it might get into that, but it's not just some metal that we hold in trading. It actually has a lot of properties and uses in our real world today. So even adding more value to it, and there's not that much of it.
Yeah. So this one, actually, I'll just read. It's a hard visual to see, but they said there's 4 levels it's used for. 50% is jewelry. Private investment is 18.7. That would be like us, okay, normal people owning gold. 17.4 is the world government, and then industry is 13%.
Yeah.
And if you guys saw my trip to Dubai, I've never seen so much gold in my life. Like, I mean, it was like just a whole street of gold, gold clothing. I mean, it was crazy how much, Dubai and Russians and, other countries love gold. Like, they get it.
Yeah.
America, to me, is super far behind what most, I know India loves gold, China loves gold.
Yeah.
Americans just don't seem to get it. I don't know why.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know either. Well, not all of us. Obviously, the runners.
That's right.
A few of us know, like, no, we've been building wealth in gold and silver for some years now, and I've had so many people tell me how gold and silver has pulled them out of a tough spot in their life financially, and even myself, and that's why it's so important that you have real money. This education, this financial literacy, this is something that not everybody has, not everybody gets. So it's not a small thing that if you are saving in physical silver and gold, if you understand why to get silver and gold, it's really big. The people who understand why they need these assets is quite small. And more and more people are going to wish that they had gold, especially as we start to see gold to go higher in value from, $2,000 to $3,000 and $4,000 and so on. And while, the economy and inflation continues to get worse. So that's why we're always going to tell people and scream from the roof, look, continue to constantly, continuously, and consistently build wealth in precious metal assets, and crypto, of course, but especially gold and silver.
Yes, definitely. Definitely. That is the base, right? That is your cornerstone for your wealth. I even tell people you want to start getting physical gold and silver before you even get into cryptocurrency. Cryptocurrency we love, obviously, but it is new. It's risky. It's volatile. Everything can be taken from you at once if something goes wrong. So you want to get your base and your cornerstone laid first with real physical assets before you get into the digital. So M.I.M.S, you sent me this yesterday. Do you really kind of want to just give this a quick summary and then we'll get right into the video?
Yeah, I tell you guys all the time, get on TikTok, okay? And there's a lot of people out there who have information or who can bring you some sources to some information that can help you get a better idea of what's going on, what you should be doing, and get a better idea of the picture of where the economy is, where the global economy is. It's very important. It's the same way you should be aware of your own health. You should be aware of the health of the economy. You should be aware of the health of the global economy and especially the dollar, since that's something that you're relying on, as opposed to what most people are going to do. They're just going to complain, oh, the gas is too high. Oh, complain about, this and that, inflation and all that. But really, if you do the right things, you can benefit from this situation. You don't have to be one of the people who get the short end of the stick. So this brother here, he did a great video with a lot of information on there that I value, and I know that the community can value in regards to the numbers coming straight from the Federal Reserve and just what we're looking at in regards to this economy, and maybe help people put a better idea of what they should be doing and how soon they should be doing it.
Yeah, it's all about education. So many people focus on, pop culture, music, sports. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that, but in the end, those things don't really matter, right? It's, mind, health, wealth. Focus on those things. And again, we're not here to scare you. We're here to prepare you and give you guys the remedy that you need. So let's go ahead and roll this. And Mims, let me know if you ever want to add anything.
Yep.
This year, they're going to pop the biggest financial bubble in all of history. And I think I know why. Let's start by talking to our good buddy, Fred. If you don't know, Fred is the official website from the Federal Reserve where they publish all kinds of official economic data. And Fred can tell you a lot of things. Like, for example, that US GDP, the total value of all the stuff that the US makes that's real, is going up slowly. And that US debt is skyrocketing. This is not news to anyone that has eyes. I mean, we've all seen the meme of Jerome Powell and his money printer by now. No matter how you slice it, money's just getting printed. They measure the total money in the system in different ways. They call them M1, M2, M3. M1 is a particularly cute chart. M2 includes more theoretical money that's just numbers in other screens. And so that spike in 2020 is not quite as intense because it has more factors involved. But no matter what you look at, the money supply is going to the moon. But you know what else is?
And I always like to add, Mims, they used to have something called M3, which showed the total amount of money or dollars. And they stopped keeping track of that about 10 years ago or right around the financial crisis of 2008. They just said, well, it's too difficult. We're just not going to track the M3 money anymore. M1 and M2 is good enough. So we really have no idea how many dollars are out there floating around in the world.
Yeah. I mean, when you look at these charts, they are alarming. To me, when you look at, the growth rate of the GDP versus the growth rate of debt, and you understand that what goes up must come down, when you understand that a lot of these financial crises that we've seen over years were predictable, especially now because we have case study. We understand that when the Federal Reserve and the government overprints the money, it creates bubbles, and bubbles pop. And we don't know where the bubble might be, but they try to, get ahead of it. But the problem is that on the other side of that bubble popping is real people, in real lives, in real situations. And it's something that we can't obviously stop, but it's something that we can hedge and prepare against, and it's just certain things that you should be doing. But I mean, it's just the charts are off the scale, and it's going to get worse. And so it's just important that people see the visualization of it, what it looks like, to really help them get a better idea of, what they should be doing with their money right now, who they should be following, what assets should they accumulate, and things of that nature.
What else is going to the moon? Derivatives exposure. Again, GDP is on this chart in green because it's not changing
moving
at all, really, while derivatives are skyrocketing. Derivative is the financial term for like placing bets that are just arbitrary that we make up ourselves, not like buying a stock and the stock's value goes up because the company's value goes up. Derivatives are people in the financial institutions, or just you and me, making bets based upon other things. Like, I bet JP Morgan stock will be worth this much more on that day. I'll put $1,000 on it, which sounds legit because it's, people make bets, but it allows for huge amounts of leverage in the system. Because JP Morgan stock might go up by $1, but we might have bets that mean that changes our bets by hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of dollars. Although in the real world, we're talking millions and billions of dollars. It's an extremely complex topic, but just so you know what we're talking about here, the top 3 financial institutions in the United States are currently sitting on $50 trillion worth of derivative bets each. This chart is in millions of dollars. So 49 million is 49 trillion.
I was saying, he said 50 trillion in derivatives bets. And I want people to understand something, that you might not be in the derivatives market, but the derivatives market and the market affects you. And so, even though you might not be playing in the market and things of that nature, the real reality of when these markets collapse, like I think he's going to talk about in 2008 with the real estate market collapse, the derivative bubble that collapsed then, you want to have a way to hedge against that. There are forces and things that are happening outside of your home and outside of your awareness, but they affect you. And especially on the financial scene, and one of the best ways that you can do that is what we're talking about now, holding precious metals. But I mean, the United States is $30 trillion, 34, I think it's for $34 trillion and growing in debt. And here you have the derivatives market of one bank. I think he's talking about 50 trillion. But yeah, go ahead, Mike. Let him.
So what I found funny about this is, other than I think number 24 that looks like manufacturers traders, every single one is a bank.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Why do we need derivatives on banks?
Yep.
And look how low their total assets are. So there's like, what is that? 15 times more derivatives than the assets they held. Right. It's a 15x leverage. Like there's no value there. Yeah. It's just the fake money of the derivatives.
Yeah. These two big to fail banks. Yeah, go ahead.
And if you notice their assets column, Goldman Sachs is sitting on $47 trillion of derivatives, and they don't even have $500 billion of actual assets to back up all those bets. Because, you know, when you make a bet, the other side is like, okay, but how do I know you're good for it? And you're like, well, check out my nice car, right? Like the car is your asset that backs up the money that you're promising to pay. So yeah, they're sitting on 100-to-1 leverage right there. And a lot of economists have termed this the everything bubble for good reason. Because as all this money got pumped into the system, it skyrocketed the value of stocks, just all stocks, cryptocurrencies, you name it. But we've also seen huge rises in things like mortgage-backed securities. This is since 2010. You know, these are the things that caused the 2008 housing collapse. Yeah, they're on the up. Oh, and so are student loan asset-backed securities. A security is like a slice of pie where you like put a whole bunch of debts or a whole bunch of things into a pool and you slice it up into little slices and then you sell pieces of it as investments. Like, you know, a company gets sliced up and they sell shares of the company as stocks. Those are securities. So student loan asset-backed securities means when they take everyone's student loans, put them all that debt into a big pool, then they slice it up into little slices, and then they sell those slices as securities so you can make money off of collective student loan debt. Well, let's be real. You can't make money off of it because you don't know how to do this, but they make money off of it. I think this chart shows the phenomenon a little bit more clearly because it's a new thing. Yeah. This is what we call financial innovation, folks. Oh, but they're also doing it to your car loans too, obviously, which are at record highs right now. But also consumer credit card debt is also at record highs. And you all already know this shit. We all know that we're fucked. But the point is that right now, everything's fucked all at once. And the stock market's insane pump over the last decade or two. And a huge amount of that value in the market is actually just derivative value of made up money of bets propping everything up with fake money that's not actually real, just making everything look like it's really valuable. Because in the financial world, if everyone's making side bets on Apple going up, that increases Apple's value because everyone's hyped. Apple stock goes up, everyone gets more hyped, they make more side bets that Apple stock will go up. You see what I'm saying there? Just if you hadn't looked closely and read yet, that line says 600 trillion. But some estimates put derivative exposure in the quadrillions, which is a stupid number. And I phrase it that way because we don't actually know the size of the market because over-the-counter derivatives are not regulated and they have very lenient reporting standards, thanks to a certain guy that we'll talk about in a second. And all of this has been...
Wait, Ricardo, are you shocked by that? There's no regulations for banks doing derivatives? I can't believe it.
Right. And the thing is that, these numbers that we're talking about, as big as they said, there isn't actual physical cash being traded in these numbers. It's all in the digits. It's all on the screen. It's not real. You know what I mean? It doesn't even exist. And so what you have is this big casino, this big house of cards. It's a fugazi. And the thing is that, as this continues to collapse and things get worse, there are real people on the other end of that, real lives, real situations, real scenarios. And this is why countries go to war, when you have these type of crises and things that we're seeing. So a lot of the things that we're seeing going on right now globally and financially is because of this corrupt debt-based fiat monetary system. Everything is at all-time highs: credit card debt, student loan debt, corporate debt, personal debt. I mean, you name it. Everything is at all-time high, and it's something that is unsustainable, and it will correct itself, and it's going to be devastating for those that aren't hedging against this and making preparations by getting real assets and creating cash flow.
And while you were talking about that and seeing all this data, that's why we talk about physical assets that you can hold in your own possession. They can't be faked. They're not derivatives. They're not some paper copy of a copy of a copy that someone's leveraging 100 times.
Yeah.
Okay. It's real money that's lasted for centuries through every world war, famine, disaster, economic hard times. It doesn't matter. The people who held the real physical assets are the ones who came out on top.
Carefully executed by a small set of financial executives and power people who love to act like they don't understand the basics of inflation and the economy, and they just could never have predicted the situation that we find ourselves in, but have convenient resumes of being total stooges for the Federal Reserve despite now working for the government, because those two organizations are not. Or the chair of the Fed, who is the master of, I just didn't know printing money would cause inflation. Because I'm sure Jerome Powell did not understand the most basic facts about how money works when George H.W. Bush named him Undersecretary of the Treasury in 1992. So to clarify, he went from the private sector working for investment banks to the public sector working for the government, back to the private sector working for the Carlyle Group during the Iraq War. There's no rabbit hole to be done on that whole can of shit.
Pause that right there. A lot of people, when I saw this, I was like, wow, I did not realize that he was a part of the Carlyle Group. And I remember watching documentaries after 9/11. It was Iraq for Sale. There was a couple other documentaries talking about these companies that were profiting from the war, Halliburton and all these other companies. And they talked about the ties between the Carlyle Group and who was together in the Carlyle Group, the Bin Ladens and the Bushes, and how they made money with the Carlyle Group and all this and that. And so it's interesting if you really go down, I say, that rabbit hole and do your research. It's quite telling. And these are now the people that's running the country. And now you see where we are today. One of the other corrupt institutions people don't hear about, they don't talk about, there's companies you never heard their name of. And they're full of some wicked people who are running the world. I mean, just recently, people became aware of BlackRock, Vanguard, and State Street because they've been in the news. But most people never heard their names before. But no, these are some evil, corrupt people that don't care about humanity at all. I'm gonna tell you right now.
Well, they've been running the game inside and out for decades.
Yeah.
And now back to the public sector in charge of the Federal Reserve. Or is that the private sector? I'm not really clear on that one. And then, of course, the guy that's in charge of regulating the whole thing, Gary Gensler, the chair of the Securities Exchange Commission, which is like the financial regulatory institution of the United States. Well, he worked at Goldman Sachs for 18 years before taking the little revolving door into the government, where he's worked for Goldman Sachs ever since, to be clear. But back in the turn of the century, Gensler worked with Lawrence Summers to push for passing the Commodity Futures Modernization Act, which exempted over-the-counter derivatives.
Wow. I can't believe it. You can't make this stuff up.
Right.
From regulation. These over-the-counter derivatives that are currently worth hundreds of trillions of dollars of unchecked, Lord knows what kind of leverage. He also did a stellar job of specifically failing to regulate the crypto industry in very suspect-looking ways, going after every legitimate actor except for the dude that broke everything, who totally didn't have weird ties to, never mind. In case you didn't know, in the build-up to 2008, the big boys knew what was coming because they were the ones inflating that bubble, and they popped it at a very specific time with very specific actions. And they timed it very specifically to bring in our Lord and Savior, Barack Obama, who promised to regulate the banks. And that did not go well. And today, the situation is 10 times worse, and the whole world is 10 times as fucked. And throughout all of history, there's only one thing that solves major economic crises on a global scale. But this time, a global war isn't enough to fix it, because it's not just a global economic crisis, it's a currency collapse. And all throughout history, a currency collapse leads to the rise of a new currency. And who have you heard talking an awful lot over the last year about introducing a new kind of currency that's going to make the world a much better place? And if we're being honest, it's looking more and more like in 2024, they're either going to let Trump win or do something really shady to make the election not happen. Because they're actually trying to run 80 whatever year old Biden against him. And what better time to pop the largest financial bubble in all of human history than right before you let Trump have office again? Just think about it.
Yeah. Well, one thing about it, it's inevitable what we're looking at when you really understand how they just print money out of nowhere. We're sending money even now. There's a battle in Congress right now because they want to send more money to Ukraine. They want to send more money to Israel. They want to send all this money for war, but yet we haven't taken care of the people of East Palestine. The people of Maui. There are people here in the United States that need it. But what we're seeing here is that they're going to continue to print more money. And what we're seeing now is that inflation is sticking. It's saying inflation is probably going to be higher. And they don't have control over the system like people think. I know people might have a normalcy bias, complacency bias. They might say, oh, well, we survived 2008. It'll be just like that. And really, this is uncharted territory. We've never been in this position before in the world. And right now, what they're doing is just like pressing buttons on a screen, seeing what works. And you have to hedge against that. I don't trust these people for it as far as I can throw them, as they say, right? I don't trust them at all. You want to hold on to God's money. Okay, gold and silver. Gold and silver has been money since the times of Egypt. It's money all around the world, Africa, Europe, Asia, the Americas. It's constitutional money. So it's very important that people really get that in their heads, because it's going to come a time people are going to remember this information. They're going to be either happy that they listened to the runners and they were getting gold and silver and building wealth and precious metals, or they're going to be slapping themselves. Saying, why didn't I? Why didn't I take $5? And figure out how to be able to have it benefit from the value of gold and silver, right? Why didn't I take $100? Why didn't I figure out what they were doing, how to get some physical gold and silver delivered to my home? Reach out. Don't be that person.
Yeah. And so I just want to show an example here of guys of, gold is what you see the governments, the banks getting, which gold is great. But as you guys probably know, we are much more fans of silver because it has so much upside. So this is the gold to silver ratio, meaning how many ounces of silver do you need to get 1 ounce of gold? All right. Now, historically, before they started all their little monkey games with the financial industry, it was about 15 to 20 to 1. So 15 or 20 ounces of silver would get you 1 ounce of gold. Well, as you guys know, and a lot of people that don't like gold and silver will say, well, gold's basically stayed the same for the last 10 years. Okay. We understand that. They rigged the markets, right? JP Morgan Chase has pled guilty numerous times to rigging the gold and silver market. The question you need to ask yourself is, why are they rigging the gold and silver market to keep it down? Because they want to buy more of it at cheaper prices. And you can obviously see from what we told you guys tonight, governments and banks and institutions and corporations are buying massive amounts of gold and silver. Because if they actually let these prices go to where they would be in a free market, they wouldn't be able to get more of it. So actually this right here is what kind of started the runners going, is when silver dropped to $14 an ounce. It reached a peak of 120 ounces of silver to 1 ounce of gold. And even today, we're at 89 or 90 ounces of silver to 1 ounce of gold. So gold is basically at its all-time high. silver is below 50%. Silver's all-time high is $50, and it's at $23 today. So we're going to have to go up 100% just to hit the all-time high in silver. Well, gold is basically at its all-time high right now. M.I.M.S, anything you want to say to kind of wrap this up and make it make sense?
Yeah, I mean, look, we love silver, and anybody who, like we listen to Robert Kiyosaki, people tell you silver is one of the most undervalued physical assets on the planet. It is one of the most strategic metals. It's in everything. It's in healthcare. It's in, clothing. It's in, solar panels. I mean, it's has over 10,000 uses. JP Morgan, that same bank that has been fined and traders have went to jail for rigging the precious metals market, they're actually sitting on over 600 million ounces of silver, right? So JP Morgan has over 600 million ounces of silver. We just showed you the top governments around the world that are sitting on thousands of tons of gold. And the question is, how much silver and gold do you have? This is the time, because I'm telling you, 2024, you see the hat. I saw a reset. That's for a reason. I've been talking about this all last year with the 2024, and we've been telling people for years now what's going on with the monetary system. They had no idea how the fractional reserve lending system worked. What really happened in 2008. Have no idea when you're looking at those charts from the Federal Reserve stats and you seeing exploding debt, in all areas. And then you see what else is going on with the inflation, everything. People say, well, what do I do? What do I do? I got to do something different. One of the best things that you can do is figure out how to preserve the wealth that you have while growing it without exposing it to risk. And one thing about gold and silver, these are tier 1 assets. So what does that mean? That means the banks have labeled gold and silver essentially zero risk. So if you're a risk averse person, you're like, I don't want to risk my money. I don't understand crypto, this and that, but you understand that I have to do something with my dollars. I have to invest them or preserve them or grow them. Physical gold and silver are the best ways to do that without exposing you to a lot of third-party counter risk or no third-party counter risk. The third party is God. That's God's money. Right. So you want to have physical silver and gold. Banks are holding it. Governments are holding it. The wealthy are holding it. It's one of the top 5 assets that the wealthy hold to preserve their wealth and actually transfer wealth from the next generation to the next. There are people who want to be that person in that family, where over the fireplace there's a big old portrait of them, and 7 generations down they say, who was that? And they can say, well, that was the great grandma, grandpa, whoever that was buying gold and silver during a time where it was unpopular or where the value was so low or people didn't understand what was going on, but they were wise enough. You see, it comes down to wisdom, because there's so many things that people can do with their money and get distracted, instant gratification, traveling on trips. Now what you going to do? Buy ounces of gold and silver, or you're going to go on a vacation, right? Most people want to take that vacation. Not understanding that you're better off, especially if you understand the environment that they're in right now, to have some assets if you don't have any assets, and then take that vacation once you're a little more financially secure.
Or have your home-based business in gold and silver pay for that vacation while you're stacking assets.
That part.
That's what this is about, guys.
Yeah, speaking of that, so look, there's always innovation in the marketplace, okay? In every marketplace, all right? And so you always want to take advantage of opportunities in any marketplace that offer better value for the same asset. You always want to be a part of opportunities that are new, that have a lot of growth and better options for people. And so, we're excited because we're always in the marketplace looking for value, looking for companies to partner with, looking to help people, acquire these assets. And so when I tell you that we're a part of, this space and we're a part of something that hasn't been done before, we're literally a part of something that's revolutionary in the precious metal space. And, we're going to help, and we've already helped hundreds of people, thousands of people get in position. And those who know. And if you don't know, you definitely want to reach out or get back to the person that shared this with you, because there is a revolution taking place in the monetary system, and it's in precious metals very quietly and getting more louder as time goes on. And of course, it's in Bitcoin. Bitcoin being over $50,000 right now. But I'm telling you right now, with all the existential threats or possible realities of what we're now hearing out of Congress, a cyber attack from China. They're saying they're attacking our infrastructure, or whether the new scare that they're trying to scare us with and saying Russia is putting tactical nukes in space. What they're really talking about is EMPs, because if they lock an EMP over the United States, it shuts down everything. Or whether we're just talking about, whatever digital threat there is, you want to make sure you have some physical metals. You want to make sure you have some real money.
Yep.
I think we talked about this before. A lot of people saw that Netflix movie, Leave the World Behind, and it came down to a situation where, if you don't have cash and nobody wants your cash, what do you have of value? Everybody knows gold and silver. Gold and silver will always have value no matter where you are in the world.
No, 100%, man. And so if you guys have not talked to us in the last 2 months about where we're getting our gold and silver from, definitely reach out. This is going to be a fun ride, and we want to have as many of you along for it as possible.
We're going to help a lot of people, man. We're going to help a lot of people, have a lot of fun, and make a lot of money.
Yeah, so if you guys were watching this, again, you guys know how we're shadow banned. Like the video wherever you're watching it. Drop the comment, hashtag silver for freedom, silver, the number 4 freedom, and share this video out. We need to raise the financial literacy and education of people during these times more than ever. Catch us on TikTok, guys. We're going to be going on live there more. Check out our YouTubes. Yeah. We're doing videos all the time about free airdrops, cryptocurrencies we're buying, how to get into DeFi, make passive income when it comes to cryptocurrency. But other than that, M.I.M.S, I think I'm good. Any last words?
Yeah, no, definitely, folks, on the crypto side, definitely make sure y'all get on Mike's page, put in some fire videos on DeFi and airdrops, okay? Airdrops is free money, okay? Just moving something around on the blockchain and you're getting free money. So Mike got some fire videos. Make sure y'all go and follow and share this out so people can get that information as well. And of course, look, next week is going to be a phenomenal week, man, for those who know. I'm just telling you right now, if you're not in position, you're going to wish you were. You're going to be like, I meant to reach out to you. I heard y'all was talking about something. Don't be that person. Okay, lock in your position now and get ready, because I'm just telling you, this is probably the biggest thing that we've been a part of in the precious metal space since we've got in.
Yep.
It already is that big. I know it's the biggest thing that I've done in the precious metal space. And not even just me personally, but literally just to hit the market. This is something that the value is unheard of. It's something that hasn't been done before. And so I'm excited for that, mainly to introduce that and bring that to the market, something of first of its kind in the precious metal space. And then to be able to help people at the same time is huge.
It's going to be excited. I can't wait.
Yep.
All right. Thank you guys so much for watching, and everyone have a great week, and we'll talk to you guys soon. Lace up.